Welcome back to the Monster Mile. It is time for qualifying for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. We'll see who sits on the Coors Light pole for Sunday's race here. It is warm. It is muggy. The air temp 77, the humidity higher than that. A light breeze out of the east-southeast. And the track temp, 101 on the concrete.
Yeah, I don't know if the track's sticky or not, but the weather sure is, I can tell you that.
Nevertheless, we feel confident. How confident that we are going to see a new track record.
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. I
Why?
can't wait. Well, it's just, for me, it's fun because I think about what we used to run here. You know, like 32-second laps.
Right.
And that was like, oh, my God, you'll never go any faster than that. And now we're talking 22-second laps around this joint. And that's incredible. Over 165 miles an hour on a 1-mile racetrack. You got it. That's a thrill ride. That is a thrill ride. And you're going to do it once today and 400 times on Sunday.
And, Larry, it seems that the most commonly heard refrain during practice was, oh, there's not enough rubber on the track.
Well, I
now?
don't think that's a problem anymore because all of a sudden this concrete has turned black. Goodyear brought a little softer left side tire, and the track is really taking rubber, which I think is going to lead these guys between each round to have to make adjustments to these race cars. But I think the big question, will Jimmie Johnson get his first pole of 2015 at a track that he has 9 wins? Even his slowest lap was pretty darn fast. But the other question is a story that's moving on from the Coca-Cola 600, the Toyota Cup, and not just Joe Gibbs Racing, Michael Waltrip Racing. There were 5 Toyotas in the top 7 between Joe Gibbs and Michael Waltrip. So it looks like they've brought that speed from Charlotte right here to the Monster Mile.
Well, the first hour of practice was all Chevrolet, but the Toyotas were strong in the closing minutes of practice. Chris Neville.
Well, and Jamie McMurray was 19th quick in that first practice earlier today. But, Jamie, earlier today, it was overcast. It was a little bit cooler. Now we've got a lot of sun on the racetrack. So how is this track going to change for qualifying?
Well, both races last year, the track actually slowed down from practice to qualifying. And I don't expect that to be any different today just because it is a little bit hotter now than what we had earlier. You know, typically when we go to qualifying, you just always run faster. But I don't think you'll see that today. I think if you can just maintain what you did in practice, that'll be really good.
Thanks, Jamie.
In practice, Jimmie Johnson fastest, Denny Hamlin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., David Reagan, Chevy, Toyota. Do you see a pattern here? Pole qualifying coming right up. Every driver has a little pre-qualifying ritual, but we don't see this very often. Jimmie Johnson went for a stroll out around turns 1 and 2. What was that all about? Jamie Little.
Well, we'll ask him. We're talking about the track right now. So many things go through your driver's mind. So you were just walking out on the track. That was the inside of turn 1. What were you looking at and what were you learning?
I was just trying to get a look at the rubber and how it's laying into the track. Sometimes we'll see it stack up here, and it's really, really black. So I imagine it's stacking up on exit. I wish I could have walked around the exit turn 2 and got a look at it, but qualifying's coming up here pretty quick. We've had a great car. The Lowe's Pro Services Chevy has been really, really fast. And this first session is going to be interesting for all of us in the Cup cars, trying to find out how hard we can drive, where the limit is. And then I think we're going to start picking up some of this rubber and potentially change the balance of our cars for the second and third session, and we maybe will even go a little faster as we start to pick this rubber up from the Nationwide cars.
Well, he was fastest in practice. There you go. He was fastest this morning, Mike.
Not only did he have the fastest lap, he had 5 of the 10 fastest laps in practice.
Yeah, and what he's talking about is the rubber lays on the track. You go to an asphalt track, the rubber gets down in the track. Here it lays on top of the track, so it might get a little slicky, a little slicker, a little greasy, but it also can create a lot of grip, and I think that's what he was trying to determine. Has it built up, or is it just a nice black cast on the asphalt or on the concrete?
Well, we'll find out shortly. Chris Neville.
Well, and Joey Logano just cleaning up this year in qualifying. 4 poles on the year already. Now, in practice, you were 22nd quick, so you think you have a car today where you can challenge for the pole again?
I don't know. Our Shell Penzo Ford drives good, but it doesn't have much speed. And it was like that in race trim when we first unloaded. Then we switched over to qualifying trim and hoping that would kind of wake it up, and it didn't. And it still drove okay. And we just got a little bit of work to do to try to figure out where the speed is. That's always confusing. A lot of times, if you're not fast, your car drives terrible, and it could kind of all make sense to a little bit. But we just got to figure out where we're missing that. But not saying we don't have a shot at it. You never know. We've recovered a few times from these qualifying sessions this year so far, so we'll see what happens.
Well, Joey Logano looking for a little speed in his car, also looking for his first pole here at Dover.
Logano has 7 front row starts this season. 4 of them were poles, 3 outside poles. There are your fastest qualifiers.
Yeah, I mean, when you have 2 drivers with 7 poles pretty much in 12 races, doesn't allow for a lot of other drivers to sit on the pole.
They don't like to share. A little tape on the nose. Okay, a lot of tape on the nose as we get ready to qualify in the first state. Here's a closer look at the series from Sprint. Sprint will cut your bill in half. Bring your Verizon or AT&T wireless bill and your own phone to a Sprint store or go to sprint.com/half price. 4 Dover poles apiece for Jeff Gordon and Ryan Newman, most among active drivers. Let's join Jamie.
And Kyle Larson was over here talking to Kyle Busch. You guys have a little bit more in common now, talking about babies, perhaps?
Yeah, we got babies in common. Hopefully, he can have the broken bones part of it. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to talk to now him and Keselowski about having babies and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I was just telling him we're trying to introduce Owen to real food now, and that's been a struggle. So, but the Target Chevy's been fast this week at Dover. We struggled last week at Charlotte, but this week so far at Dover, I've been really happy with it. So, see how qualifying goes. Hopefully, get a good starting spot and a good pit stall selection, which is big for this place, and hopefully have a good race on Sunday.
All right, he qualified 5th here a year ago, Chris.
Well, and Jamie, Clint Boyer was very quick in practice this morning. And Clint, we were talking to Greg Biffle last week about holding his breath in qualifying at Charlotte. What's it like here at Dover?
You can't hold your breath that long. You might be able to here, though, on this mile track. This baby will get your attention, man. You sail it off in there to run a lap. And when it falls off that hill, if it sticks and goes left, you're in for a good ride and you're going to be okay. If it doesn't, man, it either takes off tight or the thing wants to swap ends on you and you fight it the rest of the lap. But really neat racetrack, a lot of fun to get around here, and really challenging in qualifying trim right now. Did you see the security guy just threw you out?
He just grabbed me.
He said, "You get out now."
All right, man.
See
Good luck.
All right, we're about ready to qualify. With that, it is just about that time.
Clear pit road. What you can see, look, everybody's behind the cars. Look, that's a pretty big crowd right there behind all those cars.
I think one debate that we saw in that first practice, we saw a lot of drivers that actually picked up a little bit from lap 1 to lap 2, and a lot of drivers slowed down. And I think a lot of that has to do, which is a huge factor here, regardless of qualifying or race setup, is the air pressure in the tires.
Yeah, and Larry, I think the other thing is I think if you run a lap, your first lap, and it's a low 22, I think I'd be pretty comfortable with that. So I'd get that 1 lap, and then I think the next session, that could be when we see that track record, if in fact the track picks up a little speed.
So the track is open for this 20-minute session, and you see the mad rush from the back, and that's why they are using the back half of pit road to stage the cars, so that if they come down here and line up and don't go out on the track right away, that would not block somebody in who was lined up or staged between start finish and turn 1.
I think what I'm seeing here is maybe a little bit of an organized qualifying effort here, because as we saw in practice, if you leave pit road and you come around and you're on your run and another guy just came out of the pits, he's up on the middle of the back straightaway, he's in your way. And so maybe these guys have figured out, you go, and kind of space them out a little bit.
So to review, this round is 20 minutes. You can run as few or as many laps as you want. Your fastest lap is your lap of record.
Yeah, 22-second laps around here. I mean, 20, this, you just don't need to be in a rush.
But I think because this track sat here just a little bit, going back to Jimmy Johnson's interview with Jamie Little, I think a lot of drivers are curious what the grip level of this racetrack. I think that's why some drivers like Joey Logano pulled out, but he's all the way down there at the end of pit road sitting to the inside. I think it's why some drivers like Kyle Busch, that's not even in his car, is just kind of dragging time a little bit.
Well, I think you want to conserve laps just like you do every week. And so if the track isn't exactly where you'd like for it to be, let somebody go out, test it out. Trevor Bayne's doing that. See what he runs.
Now his car went up the hill a bit in 1, but he got right back down to the apex at the bottom of turn 2.
Yeah, a little higher in the same way in 3 and 4, but a lot of guys like to diamond that corner just a skosh. Let her go in, run up a little bit, and drive off. So we'll see where he ends up.
Now in practice, Dale Earnhardt Jr. came within 7/100ths of a second of the track record, and 22.98.
The 3 shot me up the track. Track's a lot slicker.
Is a full second off the track record.
He seemed to think, he just said that he felt like the track was quicker.
Travis Kvapil.
Maybe he said slick.
I believe that's what I heard.
I was being optimistic.
Yes, and I'm with you all the way, but I think he did say slicker. Travis had a big moment in practice. He was out there in the middle of turns 3 and 4, not at a high rate of speed. David Gilliland came along and gave him a rap in the back, trying to slow things up.
I know that's not a great lap by Bayne. He's 3/10 off his best run there in practice. He ran a 22.61 in practice.
Travis was one of 5 drivers that did not qualify for the race last week. We have 45 drivers here for 43 spots today.
And I believe he is the driver whose team has the least amount of owner points. He is going to have to be in the top 36 and make this race on time. He will not have a provisional spot available.
I believe from what I saw in practice with these tires, if you go out and you make a run 1 lap here and you don't like it, I think you can come in, adjust that air pressure a little bit, and go back out and have a good chance of picking up.
And Kvapil is also, well, he's almost 3 to 4 tenths off.
Looks like 3 tenths right now off of those first 2 cars. That was what Bayne was off, and that's what Kvapil seems to be off.
And Brett Moffitt's best practice lap was a 22.77. Let's see how he fares. Casey Mears is also rolling out. Moffitt 23.29. He's lost half a second from practice.
Well, as much as we thought based on practice, we might see that track record. You know, Jamie McMurray said both races last year that the track definitely slowed down from practice to qualifying.
Casey Mears is fastest, 22.69.
Okay, I think I go now.
And that's 3.5 tenths off what he ran
but the
this
cars,
morning.
Like that's not a bad lap, 22.69. I think that's encouraging. Maybe 1 or 2 more cars kind of rub this rubber in just a little bit, get that groove working, and then I think I'd go.
Second lap is a 10th slower.
Oh, no grip.
No grip. I heard that.
Ricky Stenhouse.
He was decent in practice. He was 14 quick at a 22.20. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, he was the second quickest Ford driver. The quickest Ford in practice was Greg Biffle, who was 12th, his teammate.
What I see there, it looks like you can't keep the car on the bottom right now. The guys were really hunting that bottom in the practice this morning, and now they're all scooting up just a little bit in the middle of the corner.
Stenhouse is going to be fastest, according to our ticker. 22.62 for Ricky Stenhouse, and that's a 4 tenths fall off from this morning.
Yeah, there seems to be a pattern here, 3 to 4 tenths right now off the cars that have gone. Not a lot of clouds out right now. Sun's beaming down. I know it's hot and sticky out there, so that's a factor. Even though this is a concrete racetrack, it does affect it.
Matthew Benedetto, 22.71 in practice, and A.J. Allmendinger was 22.35. Okay. Allmendinger, 22.83, so he's lost half a second.
Yeah, A.J. Allmendinger was one of the 4 drivers that did the Goodyear tire test up here about a month ago.
Andy Benedetto, again, 4 tenths. Cole Witt, his practice time, 22.62. And Brad Keselowski, Witt, again, 4 tenths. There's your pattern once again. So Keselowski In practice was a 22.41. 22.74, 3.5 tenths.
Yeah, that's kind of looks like that's going to be the norm here for a while in this session.
Tony Stewart was 24th in practice with a 33.
I think the other thing I think you can do, you have some guys go. You can make a little bit of an air pressure adjustment here and maybe help your car considerably.
Now Stewart fell off 7 tenths. That's the biggest fall off we've seen among the top contenders. Here's David Gilliland. Also Jeff Green has run a 23.55. He also has to make the race on speed, and he's last of the 12 so far. Gilliland 22.92. Stewart 22.89 on his second lap, so he picks it up.
Here's David Reagan in that 55. He was one of the quicker drivers in practice. 22.72 for David. That's going to be about 7 tenths.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Kurt Busch to second at a 22.67. Chris?
Well, Mike, I think that release down here to get out on the racetrack kind of caught everybody off guard. Martin Truex Jr. immediately jumped out of his pit box to get in line, and the team told him, hey, we haven't even set the air pressures on the car yet. So he had to pull out a line and back his way down the left side of pit lane here. Got back to the pit box, and they cooled the 78 down. They got the air pressure straight, but now that car ready to go. But definitely this team caught off guard by the track going green at that point.
Well, the other thing I think they may be doing is because of the track conditions, they may want to make a quick air pressure adjustment here based on what they're hearing from these cars that have already gone.
Josh Wise and Jamie McMurray on track. Wise is 14th, 23.36. And McMurray second at a 22.66. Michael Annett 23.11. He is 11th. And Jim Burton now 11th at a 23.01.
Got the Biff coming off turn 4 here. He's looking pretty good. Let's see what he can lay down.
He's in the green.
Yeah, now
by 2 tenths. Greg Biffle 2 tenths on the field at a 22.43.
P1 43, 22.43. Good job.
So
Danica Patrick 23.29. Paul Menard 22.64 is third. Kyle Larson is second, 22.50.
Larry, when I think about hot, slick, hard to hold on to, hard to drive, first guy that comes to mind, Greg Biffle.
Oh, yeah. you know, one thing, and we touched on this a little bit, but we had no sun shining on this racetrack during practice, and we have sun that's shining down now.
Yeah, it's pretty overcast, a little overcast this morning, so yeah, it's made a difference.
Matt Kenseth, Toyota. Eighth for Kenseth, 22.71.
Joey Logano, the first driver to pull down to the end of pit road, but he's just now making his run in that 22 car.
Third quick, Larry, 22.55 on the 22 car, third quick.
And do not adjust your set. This is not petty blue, but it's new colors for Kevin Harvick. Fourth on his first lap, 22.60. Brendan Gaughan, 23.44. He's going to have to pick it up.
That's a good-looking race car. I really like that paint scheme. Good looking.
I guess Dytech, that's a mortgage company that's located up in Philadelphia. That's where their home headquarters are located.
Austin Dillon was 15th in practice at 22.22.
Car looked loose there in turn 1. Looked like the back end was just out a little bit. Even looks a little loose right there. Whoa, it looks real loose right there.
13th, 22.82 for Dillon.
Daryl, as much as we thought if you ran in the 22.20s, you'd be safe, looks like to me if you run in the 22.60s, you're going to be safe.
Yeah, I think we may overestimated the conditions.
However, only one of the fastest 7 drivers in practice has run a lap. Here's Brian Scott. Eric Almirola clocked in 10th. And Scott 15th at a 22.83. Carl Edwards 25.12, kind of half throttled it around here.
Yeah, it's almost like he just ran one easy lap and then he really got up to speed going through 3 and 4 to start this lap.
Yeah, I think he was A little bit of heat in his tires, and then he's going to stand on it this lap. Here he comes now.
Well, in 2, let's go back to Jimmy Johnson walking the track to see what the rubber situation was. Maybe that was just an exploratory lap for Edwards, because now he's 4th at a 22:57.
He goes by, you know, it's almost like when we scuffed the tires in a little bit before we're going to make a qualifying run. He just did that, and then he ran a fast lap.
Casey Kane 17th at 22:83.
Here's Sam Hornish Jr. really having to roll back out of the throttle. Late exit of turn 4. He's 17th at a 22:83. Hamlin, 11 car, 4th quickest.
22:55, 2 100ths quicker than Edwards for Hamlin. He's the fastest Toyota.
Here's Jimmy. Whoa. That didn't look too good. That was up the hill quite a bit right there.
He was the only driver to run in the 21-second brackets. He ran a 21.96 in practice earlier.
He looks good here in 3 and 4. He got nice down on the bottom coming through there with a lot of speed, but little up the hill in turns 1.
Nice lap for Justin Allgaier, 16th at a 72, and Johnson is 5th at a 22:56. Not anymore. Kyle Busch just pipped him by 2 1/1000ths of a second. Ryan Newman. He may get in the top 5 here with this lap.
You can see he's tracking him just about. Now it's moving toward about 2/10 off of Greg Biffle.
Yep, he's going to be 10th. 22:62 for Newman.
Not bad. He and Todd Parrott making some good moves.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., 3rd fastest in practice. Allmendinger on the bubble right now to advance to round 2.
Man, the camera makes it look like the car is wobbling back and forth.
Or the car's wobbling back and forth.
Yeah, not going to be a great lap for Dale Earnhardt Jr. 20th.
That does bump Allmendinger. Casey Kane goes to the hot seat. Martin Truex Jr. to 3rd. That knocks out Kane. And it's now Sam Hornish, who is the 24th place car as Jeff Gordon rolls out. So our ticker will reflect that. The time will be versus Hornish to advance to round 2.
Right now, Jeff Gordon tracking to get in the top dozen, as well as Clint Boyer in the 15.
18th for Gordon, 22:71. That bumps Hornish, and Boyer 22:70 will bump Brian Scott. Austin Dillon on the hot seat now.
Well, these guys are really struggling with these cars, though. I'm surprised, particularly with Jeff Gordon, even Boyer. He was up there in the top 5 or 6 in practice.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was
Dale
third
Jr. was
quickest,
third
and he's
quick.
23rd right now.
Clint Boyer went for a second lap. He was a little slower. So did Jeff Gordon. Same story. Of the fast 5 in practice, Denny Hamlin is 2nd. Excuse me, Denny Hamlin is, what am I looking at here? Of the top 5 in practice, Hamlin 5th right now. 2nd in practice, 5th on the board.
We saw Trevor Bayne, the 6th, back out there. He moved up 1 spot in his 2nd run. He was the first driver out earlier, just moved up to 30th.
Guarantee you there's some guys down there right now scrambling. But you know what? I know we don't want to oversell, but the guy that's the most consistent, everything we've been doing so far this year, that 78 car. There he is. He's in the top 3 right now. He was fast in practice, and he's probably put down one of the better laps of the fast cars in practice.
Now, Trevor Bayne was slower on his 2nd run. Alex Bowman goes to 29th. Jamie?
And Casey Kane is one of those teams that's scrambling 27th right now after his first run. Casey said it was rough, harsh, bouncy, big vibration, really bad, tight. So they just made an air pressure adjustment, had a talk with his crew chief, Keith Rodden, and they're going to try it again, guys.
Well, he's
Larry,
3 spots away.
What do you say? Is there anything you like
about this car? But yeah, there's nothing to lose to go back out. We're down to almost 4 minutes to go, but right now Casey 27th quickest with his 5 car.
And how about this? Where were the Fords in practice? Pretty much on page 2, but Biffle is fastest and Logano is 4th in this first round. Everyone has made a lap except Landon Castle, who I think is still running back from the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I'm kidding. Yeah. Sunday night after the Coca-Cola 600, Landon Castle ran on foot the 14 miles to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Yeah. And he did that first mile in about 7 minutes and 40 seconds, and that's Hall of the Mail.
Yeah, they said he averaged 7-minute miles.
Wow.
After 600 miles on the racetrack.
Incredible.
That's some conditioning right there. Yeah. You talked about the Ford Stenhouse. He's also 10th right now. So 3 Fords up there in the top 10 with Biffle at the top.
And 4 of them to advance, including Almirola and Keselowski, with 3.5 minutes to go.
We've seen a lot of speed. Well, I don't say a lot of speed. We've seen speed out of that 16 car the last few weeks. Kansas and Charlotte and a couple of places. So not surprising to see him maybe at the very top, but not surprising to see him with a good lap.
Darryl, we talked about it at the top of the show. I just don't know. It would be a long time since I can remember this track taking rubber and turning this black. That new left side tire is really laying the rubber down.
Remember, we would come here a lot of times and there would be black dust. Like the tires they weren't wearing. It was just the rubber was coming off them and pile them up against the wall. But right now it looks to me like it's right in the track. And that's what a good left side tire will do. Because you're dragging that left side tire around there and really putting the rubber in the track.
Now, we saw Jeb Burton a second ago in the 26. That was an important run because Burton ran his quickest lap yet and jumped up into the top 36. So he'll make the race on time, as will Michael Annett, currently 34th. Tony Stewart's gone back out for another run. So is Matt DiBenedetto, Cole Witt, Brett Moffitt, Josh Wise.
Yeah, with 2 minutes to go, looks like to me that if you've probably run in the low 70s, Tony just jumped up there to 23rd with that 22.77.
Wow.
Bumped Austin Dillon in the 3 outside with 2 minutes to go.
Yeah, come in.
And moves Dale Earnhardt Jr. onto the hot seat after being 3rd fastest in practice.
Come in, make a little adjustment there, and go back out. I felt like you could do that and possibly, if you didn't like your lap, pick up.
Danica Patrick, is she going to bounce Dale Earnhardt Jr.? Nope. Coming back. No. 33rd.
Green car was in the green for a little while.
See Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now, 24th. Now, what's interesting, most of the drivers sitting down at the exit of pit road like Brad Keselowski, Justin Allgaier, they are inside the top 24. They're just sitting there for insurance.
Couple of quick cars in practice out now. Casey Kane trying to climb from 28th and Austin Dillon from 25th. I am not a big believer in superstition, but this morning when a piece of weight fell off of one of the Xfinity cars, what car did it hit and damage? The green number 13. Yep.
Now, Austin Dillon, Casey Kane both just got in the top 24 with that run. That bumped Tony Stewart back out, who will not have time to get back out for another run. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. right now 26th in that 88 car. You're riding with him right here.
And that's got to be so disappointing. He's 3rd quick in the morning practice this morning, and here he is. He's outside the top 24.
Wow. Has the track changed that much, Jamie?
I believe it has, because he was happy this morning. They made a couple qualifying runs, and they were really happy with his speed. After his first run, he said the balance was good. The car drove really well. He was just sideways through all of the corners, so they made a quick adjustment. They're going to try to bump their way back into the top 24 now.
And he'll get this lap right here in as we're down to 15 seconds to go. He drives off into turn 3, but right now in the red to his teammate Casey Kane.
Coming right back, green light. Down the back straightaway.
Did it.
Can he hold it?
Barely made it.
22.72 to Kane's 22.74. So by 2/100ths of a second, Earnhardt will advance, as will Keselowski on the bubble, and Casey Kane and Tony Stewart will not.
They finally got on the radio and told Dale Earnhardt Jr. he was in because he was going to run another lap.
Yeah.
Round 1 and done. Boy, did things change from practice. Casey Kane missed moving to the second round by 5/1000ths of a second. Tony Stewart 3/100ths of a second off. That's how close it is in Sprint Cup qualifying. And here is how they will line up from 25th spot on back.
Jeb Burton, he's just glad to be in that 35th spot because he needed to be in the fastest 36 to get in this show in that 26 car.
Yeah, it's a good effort for those guys.
So the provisionals from 37th on back go based on car owner points. Travis Kvapil and Jeff Green had the fewest points, so being outside the top 36, they failed to make the race. Chris?
Well, Sam Hornish Jr. going to roll off 28th on Sunday. And, Sam, one thing we've heard a lot is the track was just so different in this qualifying session than what we saw earlier.
It sure was. The speeds are quite a bit off. Even Greg Biffle, is out there the fastest right now. I think he was, around 9th or 10th in the first one. He still lost 0.3, but didn't lose as much as everybody else. We lost about 0.5 of a second there. I tried to back up the corners a little bit, but when the car landed, there was just no grip with the front, and then you wait so long and you give it so much throttle trying to get the front to turn. The back end wants to slide off coming off the corner. So, definitely a lot different than what we had this morning with our Twisted T Ford Fusion, but we're definitely looking forward to the race. The track's put down a lot of rubber. It gets really slick in the race, and if we get any kind of sunlight like this, people are going to be moving around trying to find other alternate lines to be able to move around here, and be excited to see what happens. But definitely qualifying was a ton different than what we had this morning in practice.
Well, Greg Biffle's time in qualifying would have been 29th in practice this morning. That's how much the track slowed down.
Wow.
Here are the 24 drivers who will advance to round 2. That's coming up shortly.
That one lap for Carl Edwards that added to 2 for him was just a very roll around slow lap. By my notes, the only 2 drivers that actually made a second run was Austin Dillon in that 3 car and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 as far as making 2 runs in that first round.
Lots of other news in the world of sport. We'll be right back here for round 2 of qualifying. But first, let's join Greg Wolf at the Fox Sports 1 News Desk. Welcome back to Dover International Speedway. The Monster Mile gets ready for round 2 of this 3-round knockout qualifying. And in this round, 24 drivers will run as many laps as they wish. The track is open. The fastest 12 will advance.
A little bit more of urgency in this session.
Yeah, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that black 17 looks like he's going to go right out on the racetrack.
Yeah, they're all rolling, Larry, looks like to me.
All right, Jamie?
Well, Casey Kane will start 25th, and I heard your radio. You had a lot going on there, especially after the first run. How different was the track from when you were last in your race car?
I think the track might be a touch different, but the car is what was really different. The whole car just shook. When it landed in the corner, it even vibrated and shook and bounced and did everything worse, than the straightaway. So, and it didn't do that in practice. So I'm wondering first if maybe there's an unbalanced wheel, tire, something like that, or else like the drive line or something got off a little bit somehow from first practice. The splitter's not really on the track, so I don't think it could be that. So I'm a little confused why it would be so bad. It was really bad.
Thanks, Casey Kane and his 5 team have some work to do.
Thanks, Jamie. Ricky Stenhouse, first driver to post time, 22:60 for Stenhouse. That's faster than he was in round 1. Kyle Larson is quicker with a 56. Joey Logano, a 65.
We can look at these guys. You see Harvick there. I mean, they are trying. They're driving hard.
Fastest driver in round 1 was Greg Biffle's Roush Fenway Ford.
I think old Biff said, I'm going to run a little higher here, but I think that's going to hurt him. But I think he might be trying to maybe try something here. He went up high in 1 and 2.
Right now, he's in the green as far as compared to Kyle Larson in that 42 car.
Yeah. Kevin Harvick third, Greg Biffle first, 22:53. A tenth slower than round 1, but still fastest.
Daryl, just watching Brad Keselowski, who right now 6th of 6 drivers, you could almost see the back end of the car hung out from the center off.
Oh, Larry, it looked, I mean, he was headed for that wall.
Paul Menard, 22:78, 7th. Matt Kenseth to the line, 4th, 22:60. Casey Mears, 9th, 22:85.
So was David Reagan here for a little bit of a run? Everybody seems to be having to me, they seem to have the most trouble in 1 and 2. They seem to go up the hill quite a bit more in 1 and 2 than what we did earlier.
Reagan's going to be pretty close here.
He looks a little squirrely right there getting into 3.
Yep, falling off there.
Yeah.
Oh, Reagan 8th. And Jamie McMurray trying to gain a little back here on the front straightaway, and does. He is 5th, 22.62. For McMurray, that is 4/100ths faster than round 1. Denny Hamlin's on it.
Nice little arc right there in 3 and 4. Hamlin head coming off there. Actually 1 and 2. And a little spark coming out from underneath the car. He's digging hard. I think he's on to something here. That looked good off 4 right there. Nice smooth line.
Fastest, 22.46 for Hamlin. Ryan Newman 9th at a 47, and bumping begins. Casey Mears is bumped. Paul Menard is now 12th. Menard's out. Reagan is 12th as Jimmy Johnson runs a 22.67, 9th fastest.
Yeah, Johnson slowed down about a 10th, which we're seeing that a lot from what they ran in the first round.
Long way from that 21.96 he ran earlier today. Holy smoly.
So David Reagan on the hot seat. Denny Hamlin fastest.
Chad says, well, we got a good overcast setup. Now we got to figure out a sunny and clear setup.
Carl is 5th, 22.60. That bumps Reagan, moves Keselowski to 12th. And out he goes as Kurt Busch is 9th. Now Newman is 12th fastest.
You know who's going to be flirting with not making this top dozen is the guy that was the fastest in practice, Jimmy Johnson. He's 11th right now.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch trying to break in. Green light.
Started going the wrong way from the middle of turn 2 over the back straightaway.
Coming back then.
He's flirting with it. There he's green. It just stays under him. He's going to be in good shape, it looks like.
He is third, Larry. Kyle Busch third, 22.55. That bounces Ryan Newman, and yes, Jimmy Johnson's on the hot seat as Martin Truex makes his run.
All 4 gives. Toyota's in the top 7.
Martin Truex Jr. is going to push Jimmy Johnson out. He's second and push Jimmy Johnson 13th.
Yeah. 22.49 for Truex, and Logano moves to the bubble against Clint Boyer.
Logano's teammate Brad Keselowski already outside the top 12 back in 15th.
6 drivers yet to run. Boyer not quick enough. 15th at a 22.76. 4 minutes to go. Boyer's going to play 2. Jeff Gordon.
You know, I talked about this at the top of the show. What's impressive right now, all 4 of the Joe Gibbs Toyotas are in the top 8, and 2 of the Roush Fenway Fords are in the top 6.
Boyer's second lap is slower. A 78 to a 76. Jeff Gordon 17th, 22.77. And Justin Allgaier 20th at a 22.83. So Logano remains on the bubble against now Eric Almirola.
So discouraging, so disheartening to run as fast as they did this morning and then to come back this afternoon and can't even come close.
Almirola 17th at a 22.77. Jeff Gordon ran a second lap. It was slower.
And Darrell, I think that's what sets this sport apart from all other sports. We know you go to a golf course, certainly the wind can change, conditions can change, but I don't know if any other sport in the course of 3 hours how much the course can change for these drivers.
Conditions, that's always something that you have to deal with, you know, as a crew chief and a driver, setting the cars up and how you're going to run the course has a lot to do with the weather.
Here's Austin Dillon trying to break into the top dozen.
Looking pretty good.
Made it 11th, 22.65. That will bump Joey Logano and put Kurt Busch on the bubble.
We're under 3 minutes to go in this second round.
Getting quiet out there too.
Boy, in that 10-minute round, there's hardly time to cool down and make a second run.
And here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. They had to wait to the latter part of this second round because, remember, he was out there when round 1 ended in his 88 car.
As was Austin Dillon. Those two made 2 runs in the first round. turn 3.
Digging, man, digging.
He needs to beat 22.65 to advance.
Got back to the throttle good coming to take the green flag or to start this lap.
Not a bad 1 and 2. Not too bad at all. Maybe a little out of the throttle, a little bit long, but not too bad. Pick it up here maybe on 3 and 4.
David Reagan trying to break in. He does. 15th. Reagan's in. Busch is out. Mears to the bubble.
Junior had it all the way to turn 4. We see this week in, week out. Turn 4. Can't quite get off there everywhere we go. That's just the tires, the heat, the air pressure. That's where it bites you.
But Darrell, he gained so much time getting in the corner, maybe overdrove it just a little bit and paid the price on the exit.
So Reagan 15th, does not advance. Kurt Busch on the bubble in 12th still. Jimmy Johnson starting a run. 1:15 left in this session to begin your run.
I don't know. That car looked like it's just pushy loose.
Well, he's flirting with it. Let's see how he gets through the middle of 3 and 4 and off. He flirted with it, but I'm just not sure it's going to get him there.
Nope. Slower by 3/100ths. Now Casey Mears. And Johnson's going to run another lap, it looks like.
Why not?
Nothing to lose.
Might, it may be this way on Sunday. You might be gaining some valuable information here.
Well, right now he's tracking green. He may be gaining more than just valuable information.
22.66 for Johnson. That is 14th. 2 spots away as Joey Logano tries to improve on 65 with an 8. Right now he is going to miss it by 1,000th of a second.
That's good. That's good.
Yes, it is. 6th, a 22.59 for Logano. Now Busch is out and Dillon to the bubble.
This 22 bunch, we have seen this. Yeah. We saw him struggle to make the top 24. Then we saw him struggle to get into the top 12. But when he did, he won the pole.
Justin Allgaier finishing up, trying to improve on a 22.83, and he is slower. Now Kurt Busch went out, but I'm not sure he made it under the flag in time.
He did not, Mike. He didn't even really come close.
So 12 will advance, including Denny Hamlin fastest. Half the drivers in round 2 advance from positions 13, Kurt Busch and down. They have locked in their positions for Sunday. Here they are.
We see Jimmy Johnson there in 14th. Only one other time has he not qualified. Of his 9 wins, only one time did he not qualify in the top 10. His 9 wins came from 10th, 19th, 5th, 8th, 1st, 2nd, 8th, and 4th when he had the wins here.
Second week in a row. Hendrick has not put a car in the top 12. Chris Neville.
Yeah, but Darrell, like you said, he did get that 1 win from 19th. And Jimmy, you had a great car in practice this morning. Just very different out here with the sunshine.
Yeah, it really is. I think, in a sense, we were kind of maybe didn't make the changes we need to or thought we needed to change any because the car had so much speed in that first practice session. But it's a totally different racetrack than then. And we tried to plan ahead and made some small changes, but wasn't enough, man. It is so black and so little grip compared to what we had this morning. So, we'll get smarter. We'll learn, put this in our notes for the next trip back here on this tire combination and get smarter from it. But this Lowe's Pro Service Chevrolet is really fast. We showed that this morning. We qualified decent. We've won from much further back than 14th this year, so I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah, he's going for that 10th win. That's going to put him in some pretty rare air. Jamie?
And Brad Keselowski qualified 19th. That's exactly where he practiced this morning. Where'd you guys just feel you were off a little bit here?
I don't really know, Jamie. We're just kind of confused. Not as fast as we want to be. This has been a really good track for us last year, but hasn't carried over this year. A little bit different left side tire, a little bit different rules package, and we got to keep working to find a little more speed.
All right, they were second both races here last year.
Thanks, Jamie. When we come back, 3 Fords, 4 Toyotas, and 5 Chevrolets will run for the pole. Jamie McMurray, going over data, was 10th fastest in this most recent session. How far can he go? on this very changing racetrack. Look at turn 4 and how much rubber was laid down 10 a.m. this morning.
Yeah, it's this morning. You see it's pretty light, but look at this afternoon, right when we got ready to qualify. I mean, that's a lot of rubber that's been laid down on top of that concrete.
12 drivers, probably only one run to see who wins the Coors Light pole for Sunday's race at Dover. Greg Biffle, quickest in round 1 in a Ford. Denny Hamlin, fastest in round 2 in a Toyota.
Tell you what, those Roush Fenway guys, they got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. Coming off the great week that Biffle had at Charlotte, and here they are in the top 12 running for the pole. Nice job.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
No matter what, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to have his best start of 2015. Before today, his best start was 14th back at Phoenix earlier in the year.
2 Roush Fords in the top dozen. He and Greg Biffle.
Whoa. You saw that little juke to the right, and that's when the car went up the hill and he had to get out of the gas. It's going to kill that lap.
He about ran out of racetrack.
Yeah, he did. If he hadn't gotten out of the gas, he'd have been into that wall.
Well, then do you play 2?
He got to. Gonna have to go another one.
22.74 for Stenhouse, his slowest lap of qualifying yet. Kyle Larson faster at a 55.
That's faster than he ran in round 2. Talking about Kyle Larson.
Feel like this is a good tire. I saw, all through practice and even his qualifying rounds, the tires haven't fallen off very little.
Matt Kenseth, 22.62. Only a slight drop off from round 2 for Kenseth. Larson, 22.45, or excuse me, 22.54.
Now, Ricky Stenhouse did go a second lap, ran faster, but he's still third of the 3 drivers.
This is Kevin Harvick. Again, that wiggle wobble off the corner.
Yeah, that's just lack of grip. That's when the tires are just giving up a little bit on you. Fight that a lot here, right up off the corner there. Car wants to get real light and real loose.
Third for Harvick, 22.57. That's his fastest lap yet. And here's the Biff. Greg Biffle, fastest in round 1 in his Roush Fenway Ford.
He's close.
Fourth, 22.57. Carl Edwards.
Mike, listen at times. 54 with a 5, 54 with a 6, 57 with a 1, 57 with a 3. That's the top 4.
Kyle Busch in the green. Back to the gas.
Pump it a little bit over there.
Fifth for Edwards, 22.60. Here's Kyle. A little more than half a tenth off, but he is 7th of 7, 22.64.
5 drivers still to put a time down with 2 minutes to go in this final round.
Jamie McMurray working the wheel.
As our friend Ken Squire used to say, at the keyboard.
It's close to 2/10. Now it's coming back a little bit, but nothing like what his teammate Kyle Larson. He's 8 of 8, 22.68.
Larson.
Remember, Denny Hamlin has yet to go. He was fastest in round 2. Here's Austin Dillon.
Now McMurray's going to play 2, but I think we saw coming off turn 2, he was turning right about as much as he was left.
No good.
McMurray's next lap was another half-tenth slower.
Heard a driver say something I'd never thought about, but when they lay this concrete, they lay it in sections. So one section, the car, it might have grip in that section. Then they lay another section, it might make the car loose. So you fight, push, loose, all the way through the corner.
Austin Dillon, 9th of 9, 22.74. Is it the track that's slowing? No, Logano is 3rd with a 55. And Truex to the top, 22.53. By 6 1/1000ths, he goes to the top.
Here comes
what
Hamlin.
Will Denny Hamlin do?
Could be.
He's flirting with the green.
Think it's going to be close. Got him.
It's Hamlin with a 22.48. By half a tenth of a second. Hamlin quickest with 30 seconds to go in this session. It's over in Dover.
You got that right.
Nice work. Really nice. Good car, guys.
Hamlin's qualifying game is as good as his golf game was yesterday. 22.48 for Denny Hamlin, 160 miles an hour.
What a cool paint scheme and what a very fitting weekend that highlights 10 charitable organizations that FedEx supports. It's called FedEx Cares on their car this weekend.
Dave Rogers, nice job there, young man.
Joe Gibbs Racing put all 4 drivers into the final dozen, and Denny Hamlin wins the pole. Martin Truex Jr. gets his best start of the season at his home track.
Been fast, like Darrell said, probably the most consistent through practice and qualifying of any driver here.
Great car.
So a home state front row start and 21st career pole for Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin has now won the pole for 3 of the last 6 races here at Dover. Jamie Little.
And Denny Hamlin scores his first pole of the year. And yesterday we played in a golf tournament to help promote autism research. You have a special paint scheme on your race car. How special is it for you to get the pole at this track?
It's so special, especially during FedEx 400 weekend. The FedEx Care car is about the employees and the 70,000 hours that they spend volunteering all over the world to help people in need. So this is part of that program, and Autism Speaks is on the car once again. So proud of the efforts of our race team. We came here and we tested. We felt pretty good about it, and my team just brought me another fast Camry.
So much talk about getting the #1 pit box at this particular place. How good is it for you guys to have that for this race on Sunday?
Yeah, it'll pay off for sure. And, I was really more optimistic with our race trim than what I was our qualifying. So very optimistic that hopefully we can put this FedEx Cares Camry in victory lane where it belongs on Sunday.
All right, Denny Hamlin, a 3-time pole sitter here at Dover.
Well, Martin Truex Jr. going to start in the front row on Sunday. Martin, you were so close to getting that first pole of the year.
Yeah, we were close. We, for whatever reason, we just thought we were in good shape there, and I'd been saving a little bit, and then right there I went to go for it, and for some reason the car just got really tight, landed down in the corner. So missed it a little bit, but obviously proud of the effort. The continued effort by all the guys in the Furniture Row team. Just another awesome race car. Felt like we were okay in practice. Didn't feel like we were, a front row car, and we made some adjustments, and they hit it damn near perfect. It's just needed a little bit. So another good day, and looking forward to tomorrow. Can't wait to get to work on race trim and see what we can do on Sunday.
And you really like this car. You raced it last week, and they didn't get back to the shop until 2 a.m. on Tuesday. What is it with this race car?
I don't know. It's just got that feel to it. You can really feel the car. And I just, I got to say thanks to everybody back at Denver. They worked their guts out to get this thing ready. I think it got back, got back Sunday night at midnight and had to leave Monday night at midnight to come back this way, or Monday and Tuesday, I'm sorry. So just hats off to those guys for all their effort. They're working really hard. They're doing a great job. And it sure is fun driving their race cars.
And Kyle Larson, great qualifying effort for him. Thought he was going to hang on there for the pole, but he ends up 3rd overall. What a comeback after a tough 600 miles last week.
Yeah, long race last week. So really, really proud of my team. They brought a lot better stuff this week to the racetrack. And, McMurray was here a couple weeks ago to test, so got to thank him for getting the cars close. I think we have a good car for race trim, too. We did a couple race runs earlier today, and I was pretty happy with that. So, and I think we learned some things throughout qualifying, or mock qualifying trim, that for changes that'll help our car for race trim. So work on it some tomorrow. Hopefully have a good race Sunday. We need to start getting some solid finishes. Some top 10s would be nice. We haven't had many of them yet this year, so we got to work hard to get back on track with how we ran at the end of last year, and try and work our way back up in the points.
Thanks, Kyle. Let's go back to Chris.
And Kyle Busch going to start 10th on Sunday. And Kyle, just steady progress. You look so good at Charlotte, now here at Dover, even starting better than you did last weekend.
Not as good as I thought we would be. The Skittles Camry was a lot better than that in practice, and we're just way too tight there in the qualifying runs. First run, second run, third run, just kept getting tighter, although we were trying to make adjustments to help it out. Just didn't quite figure it out there. So, we just got to be smart with our work tomorrow and make sure we do a good job and, prepare ourselves for a good practice, 2 practices, and get ourselves ready for the race on Sunday. So I feel like we can do that, and, 10th isn't terrible, but this place here at Dover, it's always better the farther up front you can be. Anywhere is, but, definitely look forward to the race on Sunday here.
Thanks, Kyle.
Well, Kyle should be pleased that he was one of only 2 drivers in the fast half dozen in practice that even made it to the final round. Of course, Denny Hamlin was the other. He was second in practice. He has won the pole at Dover. We'll give you the starting lineup right after this. Is a hard head.
And this is a hard-hitting racetrack.
Yep. Even dangerous there in Victory Lane. Denny Hamlin, for the 3rd time at Dover, will lead them to green. It's a Toyota Chevy front row, a Chevy Toyota row 2. The fastest Ford is Joey Logano in 5th.
Yeah, Biffle right there inside row 4. Nice continued run for that 16 team.
Carl Edwards trying to double up 2 in a row. He's done it 5 times in his career.
2nd and 1st, side by side. They're on that 4th row.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., his best start of 2015.
McMurray, who tested here, I think it actually must have paid off a lot for Larson, who's up there in 3rd place. And, of course, Denny Hamlin done the test here, too. Those guys benefited from that.
A lot of contenders starting back here that we feel like will be players on Sunday, like Brad Keselowski in that 2. Jeff Gordon, 5-time winner here at Dover.
Casey Kane, Tony Stewart, for a while were in the top 24 to transfer. Got bumped out right at the end, along with Brian Scott.
Danica back on the row 17.
So Matt DiBenedetto gets the final time trial spot. Below him are the provisional starters, based on car owner points.
Brendan Gaughan, first time he's made a race in a while.
Yep. Good for him.
62.
My friend from Owensboro, Jeff Green, didn't make the race this week.
Nor to Travis Quapple. As Denny Hamlin celebrates, it's time for Traction Talk, sponsored by TireRack.com. Here's Chris.
Well, Mike, we sure saw a different racetrack in qualifying than we saw earlier today, so there was a lot of air pressure changes going on during this qualifying session. And what Goodyear does each weekend is they'll give teams a sheet that says the tire is going to have max grip at this specific air pressure. So in qualifying, teams start their air pressures very close to that specific pressure to have good grip when they're on the racetrack because they want to get it done in 1 lap. But once we see on Sunday, teams going to start well below that pressure and let that air pressure grow. But we could have a very different day on Sunday than we're having right now.
Thanks, Chris. Let's hear from the driver who will roll off 4th on Sunday. Jamie?
And Matt Kenseth qualifies 4th. Pretty good effort, considering everybody was kind of confused and not sure what to expect in that qualifying session. But looking forward to Sunday. How's your race car?
Yeah, that was a great effort by all my Dollar General guys. So I felt like I did an awful job there. I didn't feel like I could make 2 corners the same. So we got a good last lap, and that put us up the board. The car was definitely better than I was today. So congratulations to Denny. All our cars seem to have some speed again. Everybody at JGR has been working really hard on them. So we're just going to go to work tomorrow and try to get ready for Sunday.
Matt Kenseth, 2-time winner at Dover.
And Austin Dillon going to start 12th on Sunday. And Austin, you got pretty nervous there. That first round, you almost didn't make it, but you advanced pretty far.
Yeah, it was a good recovery for us. We were sideways the first round. We adjusted for what we thought the track was going to do, and it was the exact opposite. We were too loose the first round, but they did a great job changing air pressure, doing what we could with the car to get us in the next round, and we waited, and we'll take 12th. That's a big improvement. We've got a really good race car, I feel like, since the test here a few weeks ago, and the Dow Chevy's pretty good, so I'm excited.
He anchors your top dozen of 5 Chevys, 4 Toyotas, 3 Fords in the top 12.
You know, earlier this year, remember when there was the big crew chief change over there at Joe Gibbs Racing? I think the combinations that they put together, driver, crew chief, just like on this 11 car with Denny Hamlin and Dave Rogers, and bringing Adam Stevens in for Kyle Busch, Darian Grubb and Carl Edwards, it just seems to be Ratcliffe and Kenseth. It seems to be the right guys with the right guys.
And Darrell, it wasn't long ago Joe, we were talking what is going on in the Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota camp. Now they're sitting here with 3 wins, 3 poles, 3 drivers in the chase, and that man right there sat on the pole and won $1 million in the Sprint All-Star race.
So what's wrong with Gibbs? They're going crazy. They're over there winning everything.
Well, I told you he was as good a qualifier as he was a golfer yesterday at the Drive for Autism Golf Tournament. Autism Delaware, there is Team Dillon. The winning team, Team Bubba Wallace and Team J.J. Yaley. Finishing up second, and Team Danica Patrick. Ricky Stenhouse is foot still in the boot there at -15, and Team Hamlin at -13. Coming in 5th. Let's see. Team Logano, there we were. Joey Logano and I. -7, come on. We used the eraser. We were -10 at least.
Look, that's just wrong. That is just wrong.
No, but this is what's right. Look at DW.
Yeah, but the best club in your bag was the pencil wedge.
That's okay. I played by the rules.
The pencil wedge and the ball lifter out of the water.
Don't count that.
Well, since the chainsaw won't fit in the bag.
Don't count that.
How much is good try?
Come back next year. See if you can do it again.
Or the next, or the next, or the next.
That's my favorite commercial. Well, I guess don't count that.
You can join us. Look at Sean's beautiful drone footage here from DuPont Country Club.
Ooh, the
That's
drone.
where we played yesterday. And you can join us by texting RACING and make a pledge on your cell phone. Text RACING to 30644 to pledge to Autism Speaks. We'd appreciate your help.
One of these days, we're going to have drones run around this racetrack. I'm telling you, we're going to get it.
But my boys that I played with from Team Lowe's, we weren't there for a long time, but we were there for a good time.
Some would say there's too much droning going on from the booth, but I would not be among those.
Hey, we showed up and we showed out.
And we played. Denny Hamlin, pole winner at Dover. Two rounds of Sprint Cup practice tomorrow on Fox Sports 1. Here are 3 things you need to know from qualifying. All the Joe Gibbs Toyotas will start in the top 10. 9-time Dover winner Jimmy Johnson will start back in 14th. And on Sunday, half of the top 10 are making their best start of 2015, including the entire front row of Hamlin and Truex.
What's interesting about that top 3, Denny Hamlin, a Toyota driver, has only won here twice, and that's Kyle Busch 2 times. Martin Truex Jr. looking at his first win since 2007. Kyle Larson looking for his first win, period, in Sprint Cup.
Now, Mike Ciberini runs the century poll of media and people in the garage, and this month's question was, what drivers under the age of 25 do you expect to be future Hall of Famers? And 2 of the top vote getters are right there. Ryan Blaney, who will start on pole, and Eric Jones, who will start on the outside pole for tonight's truck race.